A buyer asked me, if some Aston Martin resellers cleared about 31%, why not lock in early on the next big tower? 2 months ago, I analyzed that building. About 25% of units were listed within a year of completion. I wrote one number on a napkin: 5. Not because 5% is guaranteed, it's a clean illustrative baseline for today's example. Use your minimum yearly return threshold, what you can reliably earn elsewhere with equal or lower risk. In my files, many delivery era pre-construction resales printed between -15 and -30%. One-offs like Aston exist, but even wins thin out once you price fees, time to liquidity, and the clock on your deposits. Let's run the calm math. We'll use $1 million to keep numbers clean. The typical schedule is 20% at contract, then 10% at year 1, 10% at year 2, and 10% at year 3. So roughly 50% is tied up for about 4 years. Some projects collect 30 to 40%. The principle doesn't change. To keep planning simple and conservative, use an all-in 10% exit cushion in your modeling. This chart shows how each deposit tranche, held for its actual number of years, could have compounded at 5% if invested elsewhere. We then sum the 4 tranches. That totals the opportunity cost of having funds locked with the developer instead of invested. Here's the clean way to read this chart. First, we start with a $310,000 headline gain. That's a $1.31 million exit on a $1 million basis. Second, we discount the transaction expenses, roughly 2% to buy at delivery and 6% to sell. That lands us at the net after fees only about $211,400. Third, we price opportunity cost on the deposits locked during construction, what the money could have earned elsewhere. At a 5% baseline, the deposit drag across the 20-10-10-10 deposit schedule is about $74,000. Fourth, we consider the liquidity window. If it takes roughly 6 months to sell after delivery, that's about 2.5% on the $500,000 you just funded, around $12,500 of idle cost at a 5% annual hurdle. Stack those and you can see how a strong headline compresses into a much thinner edge, even before carrying costs. Now, the conservative lens. Start with the expected exit of $1.31 million and take a 10% haircut up front. That 10% already prices in the 2% buy side, the 6% sell side, and a buffer for carry uncertainty. From that $1.179 million planning number, compare against the original $1 million cost. That's $179,000 of upside before time. Next, subtract the deposit drag at your baseline and also subtract a liquidity window. I'll use the same 6 months here. What's left is your realistic residual. Then ask, is that edge worth the risk and the unknowns of a multi-year pre-construction? And remember, in many towers near delivery, resales have printed below developer pricing. About 1 year after delivery, you can measure what matters instead of guessing. Operations, quality, elevator speeds, acoustic reality, staffing and amenity uptime, listing concentration by line and floor, and your true carry. Transparency and absorption often beat betting early. First, set your hurdle. Second, map deposits and compute deposit drag at your baseline. Third, to keep it simple, apply an all-in 10% exit cushion, a conservative haircut that bundles the usual costs: 2% to buy, cash at delivery, 6% to sell, plus typical time on market and carry. Add lender costs if you finance. Fourth, sanity check. That cushion against real inventory, and likely time to liquidity for your stack. And don't double count those items anywhere else. Finally, proceed when the spread clears your hurdle after drag plus the all-in cushion. If it doesn't today, keep tracking and recheck around 12 months post-delivery. Aston's 31% was the exception. The real question isn't, will it go up in value? It's what's the true cost of tying up 50% for years, then clearing cost, and a realistic time to liquidity. Sellers, if your unit is sitting post-delivery, I can reposition it to reach privacy-focused high net worth buyers and compress days on market. DM me your line and floor, and I'll map the path. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian Oyola. Subscribe for more deep dives like this. See you in the next one.